Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host from In Heights Sites, Nathan Heights. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. I'm Daniel, alongside with me, as always, Nathan Hines. Nathan, how you doing, my man?
Not too bad, man. It's Wednesday night. Ready for some nice, cool fall weather starting to hit up here. So looking forward to talking about some Steeler news and stuff coming out of this past weekend, man. But other than that, it's good to be here. How about yourself tonight?
Good deal, man. I mean, yeah, I'm doing all right. You know, I was a little bit bummed about this past weekend. The Pittsburgh Steelers took the L in Indianapolis, 27-24. A game that, man, had at the end of it, the only thing I can say was this was a Tomlin special. You know, this is one of those games, the letdown game. This is one of those games where you think that, hey, things are going good. You know, they're getting their mindset straight. You know, they're winning, but they're not in a position to overlook anyone. Mm-hmm. And then they go into Indianapolis and just come out flat, man, you know? And I was upset. I was upset through the game. I was like, man, this really does stink. And then towards the end of the game, though, you know, Justin Fields started making some things happen, started making some comebacks, almost brought the Steelers back in it to win it. Just fell short. Due to some common issues that have happened quite a bit, sacks and fumbles and stuff like that. And then it wasn't just that. I mean, there was also the fumble with George Pickens and so many others. But overall, you know, the game is over. It is what it is. The Steelers lost 27-24. They lost another offensive lineman in James Daniels for the year this time with a Achilles injury. You know, how concerned are you about this team moving forward?
Well, first of all, what's up, guys in the chat? Thank you, everybody, for being here. Malvo, what's up? Arsenal, Angel, Afton, hi, guys. Thanks for all being here. Man, where do I start? In terms of concern for the team, I'm not going to jump the gun necessarily on stuff yet. It's only the 5th game of the year. Going to see how stuff plays out. I've stated, and we'll get into it later on the show, they need to get another wide receiver, 100%. I think it's been evident through the first 4 weeks that they do. But we'll get into that. In terms of their offensive line, it is brutal that James Daniels is out for the season. It's brutal. He's been having a good year. He's been one of the highest rated linemen from PFF, which obviously you take that with a grain of salt. I'm not a big PFF guy, but for what it is, it's still encouraging. But he has been really a staple for them. And you also have Fontanu out for the year. So now you're going in with an offensive line of a rookie at center. You have a rookie at your right guard now. Luckily, Seymalu's back this weekend. That would have been brutal if he was out for most of the season. Mm-hmm. So you would have been in a tough spot. Dan Moore has thankfully kind of held his own for the most part so far. At left tackle, there hasn't really been a ton of negative to take away from him, especially in his early years. So credit on him for working, for continuing to keep the job. Not going to take away his work ethic there. Broderick Jones, I still view him as the future left tackle. I really do. There's growing pains at that right side. Don't really know exactly how healthy he is. It seems like he's just very up and down. He had a strong week 3. There were some things in week 4 that were a little concerning. Mason McCormick at right guard. I actually kind of feel comfortable about him there. I think that Mason McCormick's somebody that could kind of come on a little bit more quickly than maybe a Spencer Anderson or somebody there. He's still going to have his rookie pains. He's still going to have games where he gives up pressure, misses assignments, blah, 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 blah. But I think that they're going to roll with this for probably a couple weeks. But depending on really how it goes, I mean, if stuff starts to fall flat, something will be done. It is just brutal that you have 2 of your starters out for the year that you were relying on. they came into the season with an offensive line that was promising, that they had some young talent on through their draft, and going in the season with the offensive line on paper, with how it was supposed to be versus how it is now, definitely sucks and hurts. And unfortunately, not having those two guys on your right side, really your whole entire right side being decimated with how it was supposed to be. So that's concerning on that end, having Daniels out now on top of your rookie right tackle. But I'm going to give them a chance, and I'm
Hmm.
going to give them a couple weeks and see what they can do. I think Zach Frazier's had really good film, and I'm very confident in him. Samalu being back is obviously a huge plus for them. So let's give it a couple weeks. We'll see what happens. The trade deadline is going to be coming around too. We know there's talks with the wide receivers and stuff like that. But if things kind of fall flat, maybe you might end up seeing a shift or bringing somebody else in uh, to be a band-aid for them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For me, when it comes to the concern of the offense, I am concerned, my man. When it comes to the running game, Najee Harris ain't doing it. He really ain't. When Cordell Patterson goes in there and looks like freaking Barry Sanders because we have in Najee Harris, that's a bad sign. I think that I don't know if it's him or if it's the scheme. They're trying to do some sort of like pitches out to the side and get him going horizontal. And I don't think that's his game. And then, you have a lot of injuries. I mean, Jalen Warren, I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon. It sounds like he's going to be out for the next few weeks with his knee injury, which was different than what he was dealing with earlier on in the season or in the training camp. And in preseason, I think that was like a hamstring or a groin. It was a soft tissue issue. When he did return, he ended up, I think, aggravating some sort of knee issue. And so it sounds like he's probably going to be out for the next 2-3 weeks. We saw Champlin, I think is what his name was, this past weekend. I think Jonathan Ward is another guy
Yeah.
that's going to be probably elevated on the roster. But I'm a little bit concerned about the running game. I'm concerned about the offensive line with all the injuries that they've had. James Daniels, I think, was probably the best offensive lineman thus far this season, mainly because Sam Allen's been out this entire season up to this point. But I think he had been one of the best. I think him and Zach Frazier, Dan Moore, they've kind of held everything up, in my opinion. Roderick Jones, he's going through some stuff. I think he's going through some injuries and things like that on the right side. So I'm hoping that those things start to clear up a little bit. McCormick, I think he's going to be the future at the right guard position. I think that it was pretty obvious that at the end of this season, it was well known that the Steelers this past offseason, the Steelers didn't negotiate with James Daniels, and it was possible that he was going to be he's going to be released at the end of this year, which is why I think the Steelers ended up getting McCormick in the 4th round last year. And so, I'm a little bit concerned there. I mean, this offensive line has had a lot of growing pains, and we have not seen, and we won't see, the intended starting offensive line lineup, what was supposed to be intended to be, because Fatanu's been out, and James Daniels is going to be out the rest of the year. So those positions I'm a little bit concerned about. The receiver position I'm highly concerned about. The only receiver that we have right now, in my opinion, is George Pickens. And then the next receiver probably is Calvin Austin, who I think is a wide receiver 3. Van Jefferson, I think they were showing that he was 98th out of 100 or something like that when it comes to separation. So, I mean, he's got somebody at his hip pocket the entire time. Can't really evaluate the quarterback as much because of this, to be honest with you. I mean, I think actually it kind of speaks volumes that what he's been able to do with the receiving core is inability to get open. Now, I know that rumors are starting to boil up. Devontae Adams is potentially he's asked for a trade. There's a few teams that are interested in his services. The Steelers are one of them. I think it's been reported multiple places that the Steelers are a huge player in the potential trade for Devontae Adams. He's 31, going to be 32 this year. What would you be willing to give up for, man, who's that age, has a little bit of an injury history as of recent? How confident are you in this move?
Afton, thank you. Yeah, shout out to you. Thank you very much. I'd be all for it. And I'd be all for it because they need – now, I even think that they could go get somebody that isn't a top talent, somebody that's capable, Christian Kirk, somebody like that, I think would be okay. I think a lot of people would be okay with that. Devontae Adams, if an opportunity is there to land him, I would be for it. Now, of course, the Raiders are probably going to start off high, of course. I mean, all teams are going to do that. Do I think it happens? Probably not. But I think it's good the Steelers are doing their due diligence there. But I would be for it because he would bring such an element to them, even at 31 years old, that with Devontae, yes, we can look at him with 31 and okay, like he's not this maybe needle mover he was with the Raiders, but I think that he could bring still such an elite element, man. He's just such a good route runner, he's such a good separator for them throughout his whole entire career, and he still can do that. If you go back and watch that Raiders against the Ravens game, he was dicing them up, dude. He was dicing them up, and he still has a lot of juice left in the tank. When it comes to me, I know that the age will throw people off. Oh, he's already 31, going on 32. Listen, if you're balling and you're productive, I could care less what your damn age is. I could care less. If you're playing at a high level and you're productive, I want you on my team. And Devontae would still bring such an elite skill set and element that would just be a humongous boost to this offense. As good as George Pickens has been, and everything else, there's nothing else there. And we've seen it since week 1 up to now. Calvin Austin's made some plays, but he's not a guy that he's not that reliable guy. Pat Fryermuth's been involved more, but it's just so thin. Van Jefferson ain't doing it. You're not going to have Scotty Miller there. Roman Wilson hasn't even touched the field. So this would be a no-brainer. Now, I wouldn't give up a first-round pick, and I don't think they're going to get that. But I think somewhere maybe a second, third-round pick I think would be reasonable and is probably around the ballpark that they are going to get. And I'm sure there's a lot of teams that have called. Bills, Jets, maybe the Chiefs, Saints. Those are teams that are thrown out there. But with Devontae, I know his contract is something that he's going to be getting paid a lot, and he has a high cap hit the next 2 years. That's something that doesn't worry me. There's so many different ways that you can work out contracts and work around contracts, man. That does not worry me. The Steelers have so many expiring contracts next year. And to me, if they were going to go all in for Brandon Ayuk, who, yes, is younger, it doesn't surprise me that they're making a phone call for Devontae Adams. So I would be for it. I think most fans should be for it, especially at a reasonable price, which they're probably going to get that second, third round pick. Do I think it happens? Probably not. I feel like the Jets are going to snag him because they're just going to go all in with Rodgers at this point. But it would be great. I still think even if they don't get him, the Steelers still will make a move for a wide receiver, somebody that is capable, somebody that you could view as maybe a 2 or 3, just somebody that's going to give them more than what they've had. And I think a couple names is Christian Kirk, is DeAndre Hopkins. I think those are a couple guys to take a look at. You still could even look at some Texans guys, Mechie, Robert Woods, guys like that. I think people would take those guys. Those aren't necessarily needle movers, but I think getting a guy like Christian Kirk would be fantastic. But I don't know what the market's going to look like come the middle of the season. I don't know what all these teams are going to look like. So that's a wait and see thing. But with Devontae Adams, he's probably going to get dealt with in the next week or two. You know what? Who even knows really how injured he is? Apparently, he hasn't even really heard much from the Raiders coach. Apparently, there hasn't really been much communication. So they really could just be holding him out with an injury designation. Just in terms of keeping him away from the facility, trying to work out a trade for him. That could really be possible. So he really might not even be that banged up, honestly. We don't know that. That happens. That happens. We don't know those inside scoops. But with that being said, I think most people would be on board if it makes sense. I think most people would be on board with him being here, but it also has to make sense at the same time. I don't think that they're going to give up as much as maybe they would for Brandon Ayuk, just given his contract and given his age. But he's still an elite player, man. He still has so many elite traits to him, and I really think he has a lot of gas left in the tank. So I would be thrilled if they would be able to get a guy like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against it either. The problem with me comes the trade and the compensation, the financials, and those type of things. But when you mentioned D Hop, man, the goat is in there now. I don't know if he's gonna want to leave now that they got
We
Mason Rudolph playing as
got the goat,
quarterback out
dude.
there in
Yeah, you got the
Tennessee.
freaking goat.
So, I think in the regular season he's won his last 4 games, Mr. Mason Rudolph. So,
Yeah.
but outside of that, so like when it comes to Devontae Adams, my biggest issue is like, all right, he's owed a lot of money the next couple of years. I don't think anybody's going to pay him that.
Hmm.
He would have been the highest paid wide receiver if he were to get the money he's getting in the next couple of years. None of it is guaranteed. And so we're looking at either getting him and then restructuring him or getting a 1 year rental. Now, when it comes to getting a 1 year rental, I don't think that, the Steelers are going to want to give up anything higher than a 3. I see a third maybe being the option. It also depends on when the trade goes down. So I think there's a good possibility that if the Steelers are the team and they want to end up making a business deal with the team, I mean, they could hold it off until after the Vegas game, the trade and whatnot. Let him sit out a little bit longer, make sure he doesn't have any effect on their plan going forward for the Vegas Raiders. And then at that point, they can let him go and the Steelers can do whatever it is they need to do. I don't think the Chiefs, so they'll give him to the Chiefs because of the division type of thing.
Yeah. No, I don't
You
see
know,
it.
yeah. So me, if they would have give up a third rounder for him, I'd be excited for the player. I do think, like you said, that he is explosive. He does get open. He's still a receiver that would command coverage. And if
Yeah,
you know,
he's still a top 10 wide receiver, dude. 100% he is.
yeah, and I mean, at the very least, he's going to pull attention away from George Pickens, and then I
Mhm.
think he's going to kill teams if he doesn't get the attention he deserves.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
I would like this move, depending on what it is. Now, I've heard some other people's saying that maybe the Steelers should give up a first round pick. And I was like, man, if you're willing to give up a first round pick for any wide receiver, you should have done that in the offseason.
You would have did it with San Francisco. So
Yes, for the younger player who's you
yeah.
can extend and the whole 9 yards.
Talk
So
about somebody that's been dog piss. He's been dog piss the first month, which doesn't
what I
surprise me
hear.
because he didn't even freaking play. But even with like some of their guys out, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah. That was one of I noticed that too. A lot of people are kind of upset about that. In fact, some people are saying they might do a straight up trade Brandon Ayuk for Devontae Adams. That
Yeah,
would be
right.
crazy. But yeah, no, I think the offense needs it, to be honest with you. I mean, you don't go into the offseason and try to trade for Brandon Ayuk and give up the possible compensation that you were going to give up for him. Make the moves that you were going to make when it came to like restructuring Highsmith's contract and those type of things that they did in the offseason. So with that being said, I think that they have identified the need for a while now. And I think the reports earlier this season was that the Steelers were fairly confident they were going to be able to get a high level wide receiver by the time the trade deadline was over. And so it appears that they're at least on that path. And so, if they were giving up a 1 for him, man, I wouldn't really like that. I mean, there's still so
Yeah,
many questions with the quarterback position. And, it'd be
yeah,
one
I
thing
agree.
if it was solidified, like, hey, Justin Fields came out here and he's putting up touchdowns like crazy and he looks like the next Patrick Mahomes, and yeah, that's one thing.
Hmm.
But I mean, we'll only play 4 games.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We don't really know what we have in him yet. I don't even think the Steelers have allowed him to play a full game with the reins taken off, without the training wheels on.
yeah,
And
I agree.
so, I'd like to see more about what we have in him. Defensively, though, let's transition to the defensive side. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense gave up quite a bit of yards and points to the Indianapolis Colts. None more surprising than to Joe Flacco, of all people, who had 2 touchdowns on the game, only sacked twice. Jonathan Taylor ended up only having 88 yards on 21 carries. But the Steelers defense it lacked the splash in the moments that they had the opportunity to. And I think they were coached wrong. I mean, honestly, I don't understand why they didn't blitz Joe Flacco more. What are your thoughts on the defensive performance last week?
It was horrendous. It was horrendous. It was an eye sort of watch. I honestly had to turn it off a few times and just go to red zone. I was tired of watching it. I'm confident they'll still be a top unit, and they're going to have some games where they're not carrying the load, even though they're more of a defensive team. But it was horrendous, and there's no excuse. From the start of the game till the game ended, they were getting ran all over. Jonathan Taylor was electric. There wasn't TJ Watt was invisible. There wasn't really much pressure at all on any of their quarterbacks. Even though Anthony Richardson got injured, I mean, he was making plays right out of the gate. He was taken off on foot. There was no answer for them. The only stop that they made was at the end of the game, where the Steelers had one chance to have a drive. They were awful. Everybody was invisible. Patrick Queen was horrendous. I can't really think of one positive from their defense, dude. It didn't seem like that there was really anything tuned at halftime. My problem that makes me mad when I see performances like this, it's not about having a bad quarter. It's not about losing a football game. What made me the most upset watching their defense and why I just felt like I just couldn't tune myself in. There was no heart there. There was no heart. There was no effort. When they got behind 17-0 or whatever it was, just look at the body language, dude. They can go out and go through the motions and try to get to the quarterback, everything like that. Look at the body language. It wasn't there. That's what irks me the most when it comes to, in this case, the Steelers, over the years, different performances that they put on where, like I said, it's not about having a bad half, bad quarter, losing a game, having just a rough game. It's the effort, it's the heart, and it was not there the whole entire game. It wasn't. It wasn't there. I didn't see one guy take the reins, take the horns to really group them back together going into the second half. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. There was nothing. There was nothing. There was nobody stepping up. There was nobody making any sort of play. It was sleepwalk, walking through the motion. The only person I saw have heart out there was Justin Fields. That was the only person at the top of my head I can think of that had heart out there. And we can get into that in a few moments. But the defense was horrific. This could end up being their worst defensive performance of the season, possibly. I'm confident they'll still be a top unit, and they're going to have better games more than not. But they were just horrendous. They were just horrendous all around. And the thing that irks me the most is we've seen over the years, whatever it is with this team, we've seen it over the years. When things go a complete disaster to start the game, Daniel, there's no recovering. Look at the Browns wildcard game from 2020. Completely different roster, right? I know that there were no fans, but it was a playoff game. You were playing a division rival who was hungry for a playoff win, and it was a complete disaster to start the game. And it never stopped being a disaster. It was a disaster the whole entire night. And whenever that the Steelers have games like this that are downright hideous and ugly to watch, that you just do not want to watch it the rest of the day, because they have games like that at least once, maybe twice a season, there is no recovering from their poor start in those type of games. When they got down 14-0, even once they hit 17 points, and when Flacco was in there was no recovery. When George Pickens fumbled, having their best drive so far in the second quarter, whatever quarter it was, George Pickens fumbles out of bounds. No, that's what I mean. There's no recovery. Everything will continue to go wrong. Now, the second half, the offense ended up making plays. Justin Fields showed heart. To me, he carried the team. And that speaks a lot to me. Somebody that, with the biggest question with Justin Fields when that game was going the second half, was being down 2+ deficits. Can he keep them in the game? Can he bring this game alive? Whereas we know how hideous the defense has been, can he keep them in this ball game? And he did. He did. Mm-hmm. He showed it. The offense was an atrocity as well the first half. But the second half, the offense came alive. They figured out certain things. You look at Justin Fields' passing chart, it was beautiful in the second half. They schemed Pat Freiermuth. They ran Cordarrelle Patterson really well. Justin Fields uses legs, even though those things might not have been drawn up. Obviously, taking another hit to your offensive line was horrendous and sucks. But his heart that he showed me as still a young quarterback, as a first-year guy with this team, as a team that is still trying to figure him out, spoke volumes to me. And I respect that a lot, and I appreciate what he did. He almost won him the game. Who knows what would have happened if they didn't bobble that snap at the end, which I know pissed everybody off. Who knows what would have happened? But I give him credit. He didn't give up. He fought. He kept them in the game. He kept them alive. He brought them to a 3-score game. The defense couldn't stop a thing. The defense gave them one stop at the end to have one final drive, and that was it. This was a game that was brought back from Fields. That's why I have a lot of confidence in him, and I think that's something that should speak volumes to the organization on what he did in the second half, on what he did in keeping this team in the game, and being down that many deficits. So I appreciate that. And that was something that I think a lot of fans wanted to see, was if Fields could do something like that. And he did. And that is a humongous thing in terms of a young quarterback, being able to have somebody that when you're down multiple scores like that, to be able to bring you back, even if you don't win.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you on a lot of what you had said, especially when it came to Fields and his ability to bring back the team. I do agree with you. I thought he put the team on his back, especially the offensive side. When it came to the defensive side, I agree. I think that was one of their worst performances. I think we got to see what happens without Alex Highsmith, on the right side there. Nick Herbig, they were running at him early on in the game. Then he had an ankle injury. I think DeMarvin Leal came in for a brief moment or for a while there while he was banged up. And he started being a bigger body guy, was able to seal off the edge, in my opinion, a little bit better. But to me, I think the biggest issue, and it kind of comes back to what I said at the top of the show when I said this was a Tomlin special, is because, and Afton Ford brings it, but why did they play zone D against Flacco? This Mike Tomlin led defenses, because these are Mike Tomlin led defenses. I know we can say a lot about, the defensive coordinator and the coaches on the defensive side, but I think everybody knows that Mike Tomlin is the one who's actually calling that defense and has been calling that defense for quite some time now. And one of the things that I have realized over the years is the fact that, and yes, Zach, I can see it, is the fact that when the Steelers have gone up against a backup quarterback, if it was something that happened late in the week or during the game, the Steelers defense or the game plan doesn't change, right? They plan and they do the exact same thing. They don't adjust, and it takes them a long time to adjust. And I think this was a clear situation. The reason why the defense was running a lot of zone is because they were trying to protect from Anthony Richardson from running. They can keep an eye on him. That way, if he ran, if they're running man, they're back and their face is facing away from the quarterback. And so if he took off running, he might do some damage if you're not looking back there. So you run zone. Why they continue to do that for as long as they did with Flacco is beyond me. But that is the one thing that I have always noticed when it came to, Coach T, is the fact that there is little adjustment when it comes to the quarterback position. They're going to play it as is, as if the person that's in there is the same guy. And I think the reason why they do that is because, the Steelers don't change their game plan. They try to get, quarterbacks or backup quarterback that's somewhat similar. Last year it was supposed to be Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, guys that are mobile, but not like, Justin Fields or Lamar Jackson, guys that can move around, throw and run, create plays with their legs and arm. Supposedly, neither one of them could, but they were kind of each other. Now you have Russell Wilson and you have Justin Fields. Russell Wilson may be in his prime and much younger. He may have been a little bit more athletic, and definitely not as athletic as Justin Fields. But, I think last year he stated that he was clocked at like 21 miles an hour. I don't know how true that is, but that's what Russ says. And that's what he said. I don't know what else I can only go against.
Oh, he's too much, man.
And so, I think because the Steelers game plan doesn't change, maybe they think that the other teams doesn't, and they attack them as if they were the game plan didn't change, and I think it bites them in the rear almost every single time, and it's just
Oh, it does.
upsetting.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And it's frustrating because you see other teams do it.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It just seems like that's just a coaching thing to me.
Yeah, but transitioning now, last week is over. Last week was last week.
Yeah.
Let's transition to this game up here against the Dallas Cowboys on prime time. A game that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to freaking win because I live in Texas and I don't want to hear crap
I
for a
understand.
whole week.
Dude, I think I put in the second half of last week's game, I invested so much energy in the second half. I was honestly, when the game was over, I was ready to fall asleep because I really wanted to see us hit 4-0 because it's, first of all, it's hard to do that. Second of
Yeah.
all, I really wanted us to see it. I really wanted us to do it heading into that big game. And that was really frustrating of them really not being able to get that chance to drive down the field with that really bad snap.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is a huge game. Obviously, it's prime time. You're at home, your second home game, and this is the first time they ever played on Sunday Night Football
Since when?
ever.
For who?
Cowboys and Steelers.
Oh, really? This is
Yeah,
the first matchup on Sunday Night
on
Football.
Sunday Night Football, not prime time, but just Sunday Night Football. Yeah,
Yeah. Huh, I didn't know that.
yep, pretty crazy.
Interesting.
I didn't know that either until I saw it today.
Well, that'll be interesting. It'll be a good one. Usually the Pittsburgh Steelers are pretty good when it comes to prime time at home. And I think they're going to be, they got some good, I guess, unfortunate luck, or I don't know what the Cowboys are limping into. They're not all 100% healthy. It seems like they're going to be without Brandon Cooks, their wide receiver, and also Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. I think he went on
Big.
IR.
Those two defensive guys not being there is humongous, and I feel like the Steelers have caught a little bit of a break this season with some injuries against the other team. Now they lost to the Colts, but you look up against like with the Chargers, Justin Herbert was banged up. You look at with who were a couple guys that were out as well for there are another couple guys. I'm blanking out on their names. I know that there was somebody for Denver that they were missing. And there was somebody else. But anyway, they've caught a couple breaks with a couple injuries for key guys for a couple games. So getting into this game with two huge defensive guys out for Dallas is honestly something that hopefully they can kind of expose.
Mhm. Yeah. And, I think for the Steelers, against this Dallas defense and the Dallas Cowboys offense this upcoming game, I think the Steelers have a leg up in this matchup just because of those injuries to those key players on the defensive side. I mean, I know the Steelers are also banged up on the offensive line, but getting Sayumalu back for this game is going to be massive. Pretty much. I mean, I know Falatanu is the guy that I think everybody was hoping that would be on the right side. He's out for the year. Broderick Jones is out there. As much as we all probably wanted to see him on the left side, I think Dan Moore has played serviceable there on the left side. He's done what he's had to do to keep the starting position, even if Broderick Jones or Falatanu was healthy and on the right side. Dan Moore did enough to keep his position there. So I do think that overall, when you look at the offensive line, you're looking at McCormick replacing James Daniels, who's a big piece. And, I think that getting Samuelis back is going to be huge. But, I mean, these guys gone is definitely going to help this offensive line. And also the Steelers get a little bit more time to throw. I think that's still kind of one of the things that kind of is an issue when it comes to Justin Fields, is the fact that I think his time to throw this past weekend against the Colts was 3.2 seconds, which is a little bit long. I think Ben was like throwing it out in like 1.4 or something like that at one point, but in the twos, below 3 is kind of where you want to be. Above 3 is asking a lot out of your linemen. Now, I know that Justin Fields has some athletic ability that's going to be able to get him in and out. And he's done some great things. I mean, so far this year, he's 70% completion. He has 3 passing TDs, 3 rushing TDs, 1 interception. He's doing not too bad. So I like what the Steelers possibly can do in this game. The biggest question for me is going to be the running game.
Mhm.
The Cowboys defense has been not the best when it comes to defensive running, defending the run. Najee Harris in the running game right now is a little weak right now. They're limping into it. I don't think Jalen Warren's going to play. I'm not sure if Cordell Patterson is going to play. He's dealing with an ankle sprain as well.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the difference maker when it comes to this game is the Pittsburgh Steelers' ability to run the ball and control the clock.
Yeah.
And so if they can do that, I think they end up winning this game. And we don't have like breaking news or anything, but we do got a little bit of news here. Apparently, like several insiders are saying that the Steelers and the Bills were two of the teams that are in the market for Adams, but is strongly believed that he's going to end up with Rodgers in New York. And there's I don't know if you're familiar with Pickensburg on Twitter or X.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams blocked him. So that's another thing that is going around that he got blocked. Yeah, he got blocked. So he's like, I guess it ain't happening.
Well, this is why I think it's reasonable to think he's going to be a Jet because Aaron is on borrowed time. Claude, what's up, man? Thanks for being here. Aaron's on borrowed time. The Jets are desperate, and the Jets are going to let Aaron kind of voice himself to his liking.
Mhm.
And doesn't mean he's going to get everything he wants in this next year or two that he's there for. But I really could see the Jets selling high for him to make Aaron happy, to go all in with Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. That's why I kind of view it as more reasonable it's going to happen just because of the Jets going in really everything that they can with Aaron. I mean, they're desperate. They're a desperate franchise, man. They've been in such a horrific spot for the last 15 years. So that's why I see that happening. He's interested in the Saints because he loves Derek Carr. They're good friends, former teammates in college and with the Raiders. The Steelers make sense, and that's why they're out there. They're looking for a receiver. They were in the Ayuk market. It makes sense that they're going to be in this guy's market, but I don't think it's going to happen just because of those specific reasons. I think that they could put an offer in, but the Raiders not only are going to take the best offer, but it just probably comes off as the most sense the Jets will end up being the highest bidder, just because I think that they might oversell a little bit to make Aaron happy and to really just try to take advantage of having him. So, but if they don't get him, it's okay. I'm still confident they will make a move for somebody, not some scrub, actually somebody that's a reliable starting wide receiver. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I think that there's going to be one out there eventually. I think the Steelers are going to make a move as well.
Yeah.
Roman Wilson's been a healthy scratch for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see him, man. It's been disappointing.
Do you think there's a possible reason there? Maybe perhaps he's not showing up in practice the way hopefully we would have wanted him to.
I think it's the rookie shtick, man. I think it's the rookie shtick for the Steelers. A lot of times, not every rookie. They were going to start Fontanu this year early on. They're starting Zach Frazier early on, which is good. But we've seen a lot of times in recent history, even pre-Omar Khan, more pre-Omar Khan, where the rookies got shafted. They were kind of more active come the middle of the season. Martavis Bryant's a perfect example of that. About week 8, it always seemed like that was the hot spot for those second, third, fourth round rookies to really start coming along, or at least starting to get playing time. And I feel like Roman Wilson missing time early with an injury, I feel like that he's just kind of getting the short end of that, of the continuing to work hard, continuing just to have him compete and just try to really get the best out of him until they decide to activate him. I don't think it's really much of anything in terms of like concern wise of his health or his play. I think it's just more so it's week 5 and they're just not going to play every rookie. And I think that by all means, would we all assume that him playing would be a nice little addition to see what he can do to start his career? Absolutely. I've been wanting to see the kid play. And I think that there's ability and a certain level of quality there for him that he could become a nice piece for them in their receiver group. But it just seems like it's just kind of the rookie hardball right now to me. That's how it comes off to me. I don't see or hear anything wrong about his health, about him not showing up. Um, I don't hear like there's nothing that gets talked out about that. I think
Mm.
it just seems like it's the rookie hardball right now, and he's just having a bite. He just has to bite the bullet till it's his time.
Yeah, yeah, you're probably right there. The one thing I did like about him is that when Calvin Austin scored that touchdown the week before last, and he came out to the sideline, he kind of stood next to Roman Wilson, or Roman came up to him. I thought they were about the same size. Roman's quite a bit bigger than him. I mean, not like super big, but he's quite a bit taller than him and a little bit thicker. So I think he would be a guy that probably would more be adapted to being in Arthur Smith's offense as far as blocking and things of that nature. Now I'm looking at the Steelers practice report for today when it comes to the injury report. Um, who is it? It was Keanu Benton ended up being a limited participant with an ankle. Now, when I was watching this game and I watched it back, that center, the rookie one, he was pushing Keanu Benton 5 yards quite a bit. So, I was kind of worried about, what was happening there, but it could have been as a result of this ankle injury that he had. Seomalu was a full participant. Who didn't participate was Jalen Warren. Nick Herbig didn't participate. He has an ankle injury as well. Alex Highsmith did not participate. Michael Pruitt did not participate, nor did Cordell Patterson. Limited was Keanu Benton and Russell Wilson, who I think there was some videos earlier of him handing the ball off. And unlike the other quarterbacks that were doing the same drill, he wasn't bootlegging out. So Fields, Allen, those guys would hand off and then do a bootleg out. So kind of tells me the calf injury is still a significant injury if he's not rolling out and doing those type of things. So I really do think that this is going to be Fields' job to lose at this point. But I guess maybe Nick Herbig's the one that I'm a little bit concerned about. The Steelers are already kind of thin at outside linebacker. Jeremiah Moon was a full participant, but I think he's still on IR. They haven't brought him back from the from injury reserve. I expect him to be brought back. But overall, I think the Steelers are going to go in there somewhat healthy-ish. I mean, Sam Malu being a full participant, that's pretty good. Let's see. Coach said Russ had a great practice, meaning he worked out. Yeah, he did. But the day before, so he had a strong workout is what he had said. And what that workout includes, I'm not sure. But today's workout and today's practice, the one that counts, he was a limited participant. So maybe perhaps the workout that he had yesterday maybe has him a little bit sore today in that calf, which is why he wasn't so fluid, so to speak. So, yeah. Any concerns for you there on the injury report?
Really not too much. I'd assume probably Benton's going to play. It's only Wednesday. Just the offensive line injuries suck. And it hurts. And I was really excited to see that unit really start to maybe become something at some point this year. They still can. I think that there's still an ability for them to be solid as the middle year goes on. Like Frazier's come on really fast. I feel like McCormick might take a little bit of time, but there's a lot of things to like there. And then you have Malu there as a veteran guy. Dan Morris is in year 4. And then Broderick Jones in year 2. It's still important Broderick plays. I still think he's going to be the starting left tackle next year. I honestly do think Dan Moore, the fact that he's been a starting tackle the last 4 years, I think he actually is going to get a decent contract somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I do. So with that being said, I think the unit can be decent. I think Fields being there helps a lot in terms of his mobility. Russell Wilson, I respect him. He's honestly kind of been one of my favorite non-Steeler players throughout his career. I've always liked him as a person. I've always appreciated his game back in Seattle. but he's 35, and the mobility just isn't anywhere near what Justin Fields is. And I think when you have a line that has question marks and that's been banged up, I think that is a big factor, especially in today's game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So it's unfortunate, but the thing is, they don't have any level of investment in Russell Wilson either. The best case scenario, I said before the season started, was that whenever Justin Fields would play, would be that he would end up impressing and he would end up turning out to be the guy that they're going to build around. That is their best case scenario. And I think right now we can say that's heading in an upward trajectory. But I also feel bad for Russell Wilson at the same time because it was a rough stint in Denver. I think he's a good guy, and I did want to see him. I wanted to see both guys play for us. I really did. I wanted to see what both guys had. And that's why going the season, I really thought before this Wilson injury stuff happened that it was like, okay, Wilson's going to start, Fields going to sit, reset, develop, good guy to sit behind. And then maybe we'll see Fields later on in the year. Obviously didn't work out that way. I think Fields has done a good job for the most part, being able to be a competent QB1. As I've said, I think there's a lot of things to like about Justin Fields. I think we saw things with him in the second half of last game that impressed me a lot. And I think a lot of fans appreciated, and I think it's a great thing to build on. But with that being said, it's just hard to see, or it's just hard really to have an answer with the Russell Wilson stuff, man.
Well, let me give you some stats. This is going to be this came across my screen here. This is Justin Fields versus Patrick Mahomes this year so far. Patrick Mahomes has thrown for 965 yards, while Justin Fields has thrown for 975 yards. Patrick Mahomes has thrown 5 interceptions to Fields 1 interception. Mahomes has 4 wins to Fields 3 wins. When it comes to completion percentage, Mahomes is at 68.6, while Fields is at 70.6. Referencing total touchdowns, which I'm assuming the reason why it says total TDs and not like passing TDs and rushing TDs is because it's probably hardly any Patrick Mahomes rushing TDs, but Pat has 6 TDs to his name, and so does Justin Fields. And their passing rating is Patrick Mahomes is at 89.7 to Justin Fields is 98.0. It's not bad. It's not bad.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And there's going to be people out there that pick out and nitpick every single negative possible. Malvo, I disagree, bro. Mobility is a huge thing in today's NFL, and Fields has, I think, the second best set of legs behind Lamar. But Fields, what he did in the second half, he did a lot more things than just his legs. He only ran for 55 yards. If you don't think Fields did much at all in the second half, I don't know what to tell you. He was literally the only reason why that they were alive in that game. So if you can like Russ, if you're not a big Fields guy, that's fine, dude. That's your own opinion. But Fields, yeah, and Lamar, I'm not comparing the two players. We're not comparing Lamar and Fields. Lamar's won 2 MVPs. Fields was in a terrible situation in Chicago. Steelers have nothing to lose with Justin Fields. Fields has a lot of upside. He also has a lot of quirks that need to be worked out. And we've seen some of those quirks so far in the season, but I think there's a lot of things that he's done that's positive.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Justin Fields,
if you don't think he's doing anything different, look at his tape in Chicago, brother, and look at his tape now. He's doing a lot of things different. Look what Dan Orlovsky's breaking down about it. Look what Kirk Benkurt's breaking out about it. He's doing a lot of things different than what he's doing in Chicago.
Yeah, no, of course. And so like to me, I think that when it comes to Fields and figuring out where he's at, has he improved, has he not improved? To be honest with you, I think the sample size is too small to know, which is probably why the Pittsburgh Steelers haven't promoted him to QB1 on the depth chart and things of that nature. I think that they want to see more at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I want to see, right, and I want to see some more too. I don't think,
record, that's a team stat, dude. That's a team stat. That's a team stat. That's not a field stat. That's a team stat, brother.
And when it comes,
Kenny had a 500 record here, a winning record here. It's team stat.
Right. And when it comes to Kenny too, I don't think Fields reminds me of anything.
It's not even close to Kenny. Kenny, what Fields did in the second half, Kenny wouldn't do a lick of what he did.
Yeah, if Kenny Pickett,
not a lick.
If Kenny Pickett was still, if the Steelers were still riding with Kenny Pickett this past weekend, that game would have probably have been in the 30s to about 6.
Yeah,
and
they'd be 1-3 or 0-4.
Yeah, easy. So, when it comes to what he has done
Not so cool.
compared to what the Steelers have had as of recent, I think it's an improvement. I mean, it's obviously an
Yeah,
improvement. I think
yeah.
the accuracy is there. I think the one thing that bothers me about Fields more than anything is these quarterback center exchanges.
Yeah.
Quarterback center exchange got to clean up. I don't
Yeah,
care whose
100%.
fault it is. I don't
100%.
care what it's going on. It's got to be
100%.
fixed. Those things are.
100%.
I think it had been in almost every game up until this point. I think it's only been one game in the entire season, that's including preseason,
Yep.
where the Steelers didn't have a situation at the QB center exchange.
Yep.
And I knew it was going to bite the Steelers in the rear. It was going to cost them a game, and that's what it did this week. Because at the end of the day, and obviously there was other things that cost the game, but the Steelers were going to put themselves in a position to possibly win the game. They had already gotten a first down on Fields' legs on that drive. They were already moving the ball. And when that happened, and so it just was it just didn't work out. And hopefully the Steelers can come in and, maybe you can turn it around this week. We'll see what happens. I mean, this is going to be his
Yeah.
second game at home. He's played at away games most of this season. You know what I mean? It's 3
Mhm.
road games. He's
Well,
played
dude, and
one
I
game
think
at
you
home.
got to take away the Steelers have 3 wins. 2 of those are from road wins, bro. You got to take
Yeah,
that away as a W. Yeah, I mean, you really do. So he's only had 1 home game. So, and it's only week 4 or week 5. So with Fields, we have to see how the rest of the season plays out. It's nobody should be jumping the gun on like, oh, he's the future or anything like that. But I think that with what we've seen so far, that you should feel good about what he has there. And I really think that he showed a lot in that second half, man, of last game. Like that really impressed me. And Fields was a first round pick, and we know that whole spiel. There was a handful of exciting moments from him in Chicago. There was a lot of bad, there was some good. And here, if you really look at video and film that's broken down on him, there's definitely a lot of difference in terms of him in Chicago, him here. Fields, yes, there's times Fields has rolled out this year, has taken sacks, has rolled out in a bad way, kind of starting to move around when he shouldn't. Fields here has gone through his progressions, I think, more times here in 4 games than he ever did in Chicago. Fields here, I think, is a lot more better mechanically with his footwork than he ever was in Chicago. Fields hasn't even rushed for like 100 yards yet with the Steelers. He was doing that almost every other week with the Bears. And if we're going to pin things on Fields of not winning in Chicago, then we should pin 3-1 on Fields here for the Steelers, or else that's pretty darn hypocritical.
that's true. That
If
is
we're
true.
going to pin that Fields went 10-28 with the Bears, but he's 3-1 with the Steelers, and we're just going to say, oh, it's because the defense, then dude, what are we doing? That is hypocritical as it comes with that. That's not even fair. So Fields deserves credit on some of these wins. The defense has balled 3 out of the 4 games. But see right there, Malvo, you're saying it's the defense that's helping him. Okay, then what was it in Chicago? All Fields? Chicago had nothing, dude. If you're going to say the defense is helping him, then what was last game? They almost won because of him. So show some credit, dude. Have a little respect for what he did. And even if you're a Fields guy or like you're not looking at things the way I am, that's fine, dude. That's fine. We're on the same team here. You can have your takes. I have my takes. But any fans out there, DJ Moore. Okay, so that's even proves my point even more. The Steelers don't have anybody that's as good as DJ Moore. Maybe Pickens, but the Steelers had a better offensive roster than last year. So really, the comments you're making don't really make much any sense, honestly. It's honestly kind of like you're knocking him on the Steelers and then you're knocking him on the Bears and being pretty hypocritical about it. So I don't really know what it is. You're saying one's defense and one's on Fields, vice versa. Didn't have anything in Chicago. Doesn't really have much here. I don't really understand what you're talking about, brother. But listen, that's your prerogative. That's your thing, man. You can think whatever you want. It's good conversation. It's good debate. But Fields, at the end of the day, man, had heart. He showed heart in the second half. This is what fans want too, dude. Fans don't understand the game of football. Fans want 300 yards a game, 4 passing touchdowns a game. What matters at the end? Do we want Justin Fields to look like a franchise quarterback right now and be 0-4? Is that what you'd rather have? Or would you rather have Fields' development and continue to take a slow process and be damn 3-1? What do you want?
Hey, watch this, though. The last week against the Colts, Justin Fields did throw for over 300 yards and had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, so there you go. But you want that every week. It seems like fans want that every week and then would want the Steelers to lose. Like they would rather have that and see the Steelers be 0-4. But
Right.
it's never good enough. The Steelers winning games is never good enough. Listen, the offense gets as frustrating for me as the next guy. The offense has been like that for 3 years now, where the production's not there, the scoring's not there, blah, 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 blah. But I think you can start seeing a pretty good difference with this offense. It seems like there's direction, there's structure. You see it out on the field. I think that there's definitely difference. They need another playmaker. But at the end of the day, you got to give credit to Fields, no matter how much you're not quite sold on him yet versus how much you are. I'm not throwing him out there saying that he's the guy, he's the future, but I'm pretty confident in what he can do. I like his ability. I think he's a smart quarterback. I think he has a high football IQ, but there's still a lot of quirks he needs to work out, but he's only 25. And at the end of the day, I think that there should be a lot of good takeaway. There's still concern. There's still question. There's still frustrating things. But those are things that can get cleaned up. And hopefully that they do. But if we're just going to completely nitpick every Steeler game and everything like that, I mean, what are we doing? Honestly, what are we doing? So I don't know. I just think that fans just want too much offense and just have really unrealistic expectations.
Jacob comes in with the hope that I have had for a while.
There you go. There you go.
That it's going to be a Manning here, and
it's going to be a win-win.
In a couple of years, yeah.
It's either he works out or you get Arch. There you go.
There it is. I mean, that's a win-win. So, Steelers take on the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday night. Let's get some scores in. Let's get some predictions.
Get some scores, guys, and we'll wrap it up. Didn't mean to go on a tangent. Listen, guys, we're all on the same page. We're all on the same page here. We're all on the same team. It's good conversation. It's good debate. Doesn't matter whether it's me, Daniel, whoever in the comment section. It's always good debate. That's what makes it fun.
100%. So drop your scores in the chat. Before we give our scores, if the Steelers are going to win, it's because what player did what? Is it Justin Fields threw three touchdowns? Is it Najee ran for 100 yards? Is it the defense wins the turnover battle? What is it that the Steelers have to do to win this game?
I think really to win this game, I think you need to be able to, I don't want to put the expectation that they're going to run the football really well, but I think you made a good point earlier about them. If they're able to with kind of the Najee problems and maybe not having Patterson or Warren, both of them, if they're going to be able to find some consistency, they need to be able to have a little bit running the football. Now, that's going to tangle into Najee Harris. That's going to tangle into Justin Fields. That's going to tangle into maybe whoever else that they got there. But if they can find a little bit of consistency running the football, even if they're going to be a little bit more pass heavy, that can work out for them. So I like the yes, you will, Z, and I'll get into that at the end of the show. But if they can find some success on certain drives running the football, not turn the ball over, because Dallas has some playmakers in their secondary. They do. Even if Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence isn't playing there, they have some secondary. They have some guys in the secondary. Don't turn the ball over. Find a little bit of a healthy ground game, and just take what's there. Just take what's there. And I think that can end up being probably really as basic as I can be, really, without going fully in depth. I think that could help give them an edge, because really even Dallas running the football doesn't impress me. It doesn't. Rico Dowdle, Zeke, Dalvin Cook hasn't even played. It doesn't impress me. It's really going to be Dak's arm. It's going to be stopping CeeDee Lamb. It's going to be letting maybe some of these other guys beat you. If you're the Steelers defense, it's going to be, okay, we're going to try to let Jalen Tolbert and maybe Ferguson or somebody else try and beat us. Okay. That's what's going to be. CeeDee Lamb's going to have to be a primary focus. But find some ground game work. Don't turn the ball over. Take some shots down the field. That's kind of a recipe. I don't really think this is going to be too high score of a game for the Steelers, to be honest with you. The last 2 weeks they hit 20 plus. So I think that those are encouraging things to take away. the fact that they hit 24 last week and then they're at 20. So those are some good things to take away. But if it can if we're going to nitpick just certain spots, I think maybe that's what I would say in terms of some offensive production.
Good deal. Good deal. For me, I think the one thing that's going to have to happen is going to be the matchup between Joy Porter and CeeDee Lamb. The running game for the Dallas Cowboys don't scare me. The passing options that the Cowboys have outside of CeeDee Lamb aren't that much, and especially with the injuries that they've had. On the defensive side, they have a lot of injuries on the defensive line and on the edge. So that should give the offense the opportunity to have a little bit more time to throw the ball and pick apart the defense. So for me, in order for the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game, Joy Porter has to have a bounce back game. Last week, he had an opportunity to have his hand on 2 balls there, one in the end zone. And that sounded weird. He had an opportunity to pick off 2 passes and didn't come down with it. And I think that this week that's going to change. He's going to have an interception. I think if he does that, the Steelers are going to end up winning this game. When it comes to scores, what are your score prediction for this game?
Yeah, when it comes to scores, Z, appreciate you, brother. I'll see you online in about 5 minutes. When it comes to the score predictions here, I picked the Colts last week. I know Daniel and I didn't really do a show where we kind of tackled that. No, I picked the Steelers to win last week. I'm sorry, they lost. I'm going to pick Dallas this week. Reason why is because now the defense needs to have a bounce back game. They really do. And I actually think that they might. Offensively, I'm still not sold yet in terms of us really breaking the seal, so to say, of finding consistency of 3 straight 20-point games. I think we've all just have so much PTSD from the last 3 years. So I think that it's going to really take some time for us to come around to really start having confidence in our offense. But the last 2 games did give me confidence, and I am confident that we could maybe find somewhat of a healthy pass game. The run game is obviously a concern. I do expect it probably to be slow, but if you can find some decent run packages, run styles with Fields, Najee, et cetera, like that, that can obviously help maybe a couple drives. But I'm going to go Dallas. I think Dak's arm will be able to get the job done. Dallas has been struggling as well. But I think they spoil us, man. I think they spoil us at home. I'm going to go Dallas. I think I'm going to go Dallas 24-19.
Good deal. So, good deal.
It will be a close game kind of throughout, but I think Dak will be able to get the job done.
See, for me, I think the Steelers are going to have a really good bounce back week game, whatever you want to call it. I think the defense was embarrassed by the statue that is Joe Flacco. I think they've heard about it all week. They're going to continue to hear about it all week on how, 40-year-old Joe Flacco, 8 days younger than Richard Allen, whatever his name is, AR-55 over there. And Anthony Richardson. Well, I want to call him Richard Anderson for some reason. No, Anthony Richardson's mom is only 8 days older than Flacco. So I think they have that bad taste in their mouth. I do think they're going to have a bounce back game. This is in front of the home crowd. The Steelers fans are going to give it to them if they come out, flat again. And I really do think that, the issues that the Dallas Cowboys are dealing with right now as well are going to take its toll. So I'm actually going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers winning this game 27-13.
Wow.
Yes, sir. I think that they're actually going to come back. Yeah, and I think it's been almost there. I mean, it's been on the cusp. Last week they came in flat. But the week before they obviously could have had 27 if Najee they allowed him to run it in at the end of the game. And even last week, George Pickens fumbling at the 5-yard line. That could have been a difference maker as far as the points go. And then you also left 3 points on the field when he ended up Justin Fields ended up taking a big sack, going all the way, and ended up losing the ball. And so, yeah, I do think the Steelers end up bouncing back. They end up winning in convincing fashion, in my opinion, in this game. Like I said, I think that the Steelers know offensively who they need to stop. And I think that it's the CeeDee Lamb. I think that Joey Porter is going to be following him. And like I said, I think he had a chance to intercept the ball twice, once in the end zone. And, any of those things happen because those were both scoring drives. Game's a different story. So,
right. No, I agree.
So let's start going through some of these scores. F4 it says 16-13. Good guys. Zach comes in with 27-24 Steelers. That's not a score. Brian Brown says 27-17 Steelers. Let's see if there's any more. There it is. 27-17 Steelers for Claude.
Dallas. He picked Dallas.
Oh, Dallas. That's right. Danny, 35. Cowgirls, 10. Then we have Deja Vu is Steelers are negative 2.5. Let's see. No Diddy. I don't know what that's for. Let's see. Great show as always.
Thank you.
Malibu comes in 24-17.
Malvo and I pretty much on the same ballpark, seems like.
Yep. And I want to see if there's any more coming in. All righty, there we go. So back and forth. A lot of people think that, the Steelers might win, might lose in that situation. I think the Steelers are going to win. They have to win.
Yeah.
Because I have a bet on this game that I made also before the year started. So they better win. I got some things riding on this game. I live in Texas.
If they win, Daniel, before we get out of here, what's their record before the bye? Week 9 bye.
All right. Well, they win. They're going to go 4-1.
So it'd be 8. They'd have 8 games played before their bye.
6-2. Let me see their schedule real quick. Let me see the schedule. Because I know it doesn't get too daunting. I think that the Steelers got the Raiders, then the Jets, then the Giants, and then the Commanders. I mean, the Steelers can win all these games. They can win all these games, but I don't know if the Steelers' maturity will allow them to win all these games. Just like last week, they came in flat. I've seen it before last year where the team thinks that they're better than what they are, and that they come in on a high horse and get knocked down real quick. I think last year after the Bengals game, the first game after Matt Canada was gone, come in next game against the Cardinals, fell flat. Yep. And it just always kind of seemed that way. This game here was also a game where I felt that they were like, all right, we did it. We're the Steelers. They're going to come in and lay down for us. Not the case here. And that ended up being the case. They are not the case, and they ended up getting blasted out the gate. So I do think they probably drop one here that they're supposed to win. If I had to say which one, I would probably say the Jets. Out of the teams that are here, I think their defense is, they got some playmakers in the secondary. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's not playing the best so far this year, but I mean, we just saw what Joe Flacco did. So that is what is true, and I think Aaron Rodgers is a much better quarterback than Joe. So I think that if they do end up losing one, it might be the Jets. But they have I think with the schedule remaining, I mean, the Commanders are also going to be a team that they're on the rise right now, but they got a rookie quarterback, and Steelers typically can do pretty good against rookie quarterbacks. Yeah. What do you think? Where are you at? If they end up, where do you think if they win this game, where are they at the bye?
I like 5-3.
All right. Who do you see the Steelers losing to out of these next?
Dallas and the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Dallas and the Jets 5-3 before their bye week.
That would stink, man, because both of those games are at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's only so many home games that they have.
Yep. So that's 2 out of 3 home games. So you're 1 and 2 at home so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible.
But I think they'll win some of their division games at home.
Yes, sir. I think they have a good chance. The division don't seem strong this year as it has been in years past.
The Bengals and Ravens play, and honestly, I'm not saying like I'm cheering for either one of them, but if they're both going to play each other, I'll be honest, I would like to see the Bengals hit 1-4 and kind of be there at the bottom of the basement, have some cushion.
Yeah.
Rather than the Ravens lose and they're both sitting at 2-3 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think seeing the Bengals at 1-4 and maybe even the Browns at 1-4 would be a great sight.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, next week, guys, I won't be able to do a show. I'm going to be in Florida with Z. So we're going to be able to, so we'll kind of be doing our thing. So I won't be able to be a part of Unofficial Steelers podcast next week. So if Daniel does his thing and he's here, you guys will know where I'm at, but we'll pick it up the following week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm still debating if I'm going to be doing a post-game show after the Cowboys game. Is going to be a little bit late. Depends on if I have some adult beverages or not throughout the game. If I do, I probably will come on and I'll probably make a fool out of myself. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you ring that notification.
They blow them out, Daniel. You got to go live.
Exactly. And then I'll be back next week for a couple of times, hopefully, talk about the game that was and the game that will be. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you guys. Thank you, Nathan. His link to his site or his YouTube channel is in the title.
Yep.
Just click on the @ button. It says @ in hindsight. You can go to his page, check out all of his content on the Pittsburgh Steelers. He also has another podcast with Z. Who are these guys, I believe, right?
Yep.
And they talk more about other sports and the full on, all the teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so, any last words there, Nathan?
Just really a shout out to everybody in the comments, man. It's always good to see you guys. You all know who you are. A lot of you guys are always here every single week, and it's always good to see your names. So hope you all are doing well and are in good spirits. For all those that are new, welcome to Daniel's channel, to my channel. You guys are always welcome here. We appreciate it. It's always just good to have good conversation with each other, Daniel, and always good to have good conversation and debates with anybody putting their thoughts in the chat. So that's what makes it fun. It's what makes it enjoyable for us. And we appreciate all of you guys. You guys know who you all are. So thank you all very much.
With that being said, we're out of here, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.